Now, I told you on this program that Donald Trump, once he hits the general election, will have none of his previous positions. And I've gotten into debates with people about this. They said, no, but he's clearly on the record, so he can't change all of those positions. Clearly on the record. Who cares? It's Donald Trump. He flip-flops within a sentence, let alone an interview, let alone a campaign. So, of course he can, and of course he will. He's a crowd surfer. So when he was with the Republican base, he's like, boom, I got it. Mexicans, rapists, criminals, Muslims, I'm banning them. Okay, taxes, I'm totally for the rich. And he surfed his way to victory. Now, in a general election, that's not the same crowd. In order to win in that crowd, he's got to surf in a different direction. And I told you that he would start sounding like a progressive because he knows that maybe the Democratic Party establishment doesn't know, certainly the Republican Party establishment doesn't know, but Trump knows the country is actually center-left. He can read the polls, he can read the crowd. It's his only gift, but it is a strong gift, especially if you're a politician. So let's talk about what his previous tax proposal was under when he was running in the Republican primary. He said Trump's tax proposal, according to Reuters, released last September, included broad tax breaks for businesses and households. He proposed reducing the highest income tax rate to 25% from the current 39.6% rate. Now, let me break that down for you guys because the numbers are amazing. That would be a historic giveaway to the rich. It would create a bunch of problems 4 times worse than George Bush's deficits. And remember, George Bush took a $5 trillion surplus and then turned it into about a $1.2 trillion deficit. And he would be 4 times worse. Now, they explain that in over a 10-year period, that if you do is calculate out how much his tax plan would cost us, it would put a $10 to $12 trillion hole in the budget. That's how much he'd give away mainly to the rich. So to give you a sense of how much he'd give away to the rich, for the average person in the 0.1% bracket, they would get a gain of $1.3 million per year. So when he's in the Republican primary, hey, don't worry, super rich, and all the knuckleheads who've been convinced that giving all the money to the super rich will trickle down to you. I got it. I'm for the super rich. I'm giving them on average $1.3 million per year if I'm president, right? And I'm giving away $10 to $12 trillion in tax cuts. Now, he's in a general election, center-left. Oh, me? Tax cuts for the wealthy? Oh, I don't know. No, not me. So Reuters explains. Now, he's changed it. Now he's saying he's going to raise taxes on the wealthy, pressed on the contradiction between his latest comments on taxes and the September tax plan. Trump said that he expected his original proposal was a, quote, concept, and he expected that it would be changed following negotiations with Congress. So easy. He's like, oh, my previous proposal, that was a concept. I'm on to my new proposal. By the way, is this new proposal real? Who knows? Nobody knows. You think you know what Trump is going to do when he's president? No one has any idea. Even Trump doesn't know what he's going to do when he's president. All he knows is, this is how I win. So now get a load here. We did a mashup. J.R. Jackson, our legendary producer, did a mashup of all of his statements on tax cuts. Watch.
You've said recently again that you believe in raising taxes on the wealthy, including yourself, but your plan gives a massive tax cut to the wealthy. How do you square that?
Well, it gives a massive tax cut to everybody.
But then in an interview earlier this week, you seem to say, you know what, my tax plan, it's not set in stone, and maybe I'll raise taxes. Maybe I'll actually raise taxes on the rich. So I guess, which is it? Are you willing to raise taxes on the 0.1%?
No. Let me explain how the world works, okay? It's going to be negotiated, Judge. It's not going to stay there. They're not going to say, there's your plan, let's approve it. They're going to say, let's see what we can do. Now, it'll be a negotiation. I will try and keep everything. What I really want is lower on business, because business, we're the highest tax nation in the world, and I want lower in the middle class. I think nobody knows more about taxes than I do, and income than I do. But I'll explain how it all works. I don't come up with it. I come up with the biggest tax cut by far of any candidate, anybody, and I put it in. But that doesn't mean that's what we're going to get. We have to negotiate.
So that would be a big change from your plan.
No, it's not a change, George. It's a negotiation. Remember this. If I could get my plan approved the way it is now, I'd be very happy. It's not going to happen.
Bottom line, do you want taxes on the wealthy to go up or down?
They will go up a little bit, and they may go up you know.
But they're going down in your plan.
No, in my plan they're going down, but by the time it's negotiated, they'll go up. The other thing, I'm going to fight very hard for business. For the wealthy, I think, frankly, it's going to go up. And you know what? It really should go up. I don't mind paying more tax. I'll be honest with you. I don't mind paying more tax. I've done very well over the last 10
But under your
years.
plan, you pay less taxes.
But under my plan, it's going to be negotiated. The thing I'm going to do is make sure the middle class gets good tax breaks, because they have been absolutely shunned. So if I want to get lower taxes, which is very important to me, I'm not going to put in high taxes, and I'm not even going to put in what I necessarily want. I'm going to put in lower than I want, and we're going to negotiate.
But in the end, will someone like me or Donald Trump pay more under your tax
I have
plan?
a feeling we may pay some more, but I'll tell you, the middle class is going to pay a lot less. And I wouldn't mind paying more, George. We got to do something. I mean, I wouldn't mind paying more.
They should pay. The wealthy need to pay more taxes. What do you define as wealthy, by the way?
Let me explain. Somebody like me, I am willing to pay more, and you know what? Wealthy are willing to pay more. We've had a very good run.
I told you. Told you he was going to flip-flop instantly. And there he goes. Right there, you can see it with your own eyes. Now, under my plan, yeah, taxes would go down. But after we negotiate, they'll go up for the wealthy. What? And then later, he said, no, they should go up for the wealthy. Which one is it? Well, it depends. Am I in a Republican primary or am I in a general election? I'm in a general election. Oh, goddamn wealthy. Their taxes need to go up. I'm out for the middle class. I'm going to make sure their taxes go down at the expense of the rich. We've done well. We've done well. We can afford to pay more. There he goes again, crowd surfing. You thought he was just going to stick with his stupid right-wing positions and get butchered in a general election? He's not going to do that. He's not going to go to the center. He's going to go to the left. He's going to go to the left because the country is center-left. Look at the polling. Watch, he will come out like a lion defending Social Security and Medicare. I'm telling you ahead of time, okay? He's already changed his position on minimum wage. Before, he's like, minimum wage. Now he's like, what are you talking about? The wages need to be higher. Okay, he's going to change his position to all the things that match the American people's positions. And if you look at the polling, that is almost universally center-left. So welcome to the new liberal Donald Trump.